Hi. We can just jump straight into this screen today. Because it's Doodle for it. It's been a while. It's been a good long while, in fact. So, yes, these are all the submissions that everybody turned in for Doodle Fort. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. You're allowed to not have to do homework. It's fine. Yeah, this is literally all the submissions. Totally, absolutely. This is not at all an artist I look up to. Very popular, famous artist named R.J. Palmer. Yeah. No, they're really good. They are exactly what I was... Stitch, I swear to God. These are exactly what I was thinking when I gave the prompt for this month, which was... don't mind me, I'm not pulling it up, but I do totally have it right here. In fact, this piece of paper, this piece of paper is saying, all right, we could draw a Pokemon, but we're not gonna just draw a Pokemon. I'd like you guys to try to give them a little bit of realistic animal anatomy. You were allowed to draw any Pokemon you wanted. I just needed to make sure that I knew what Pokemon it was. This person RJ did get hired for the Pikachu movie, and it really fucking helped, I think, in my opinion. And then I said that there's a chance that you could do like skull studies, stuff like that, and you know, just everything done to make sure. Sorry, I'm dealing with the cat. Doing everything in your power to try to figure out the best way to make this Pokemon look more realistic, basically. And so the best things I wanted to bring up were a lot of things that like RJ wound up being hired for in most cases. Go to him. Whatever. Fucking hell. She's being an absolute monster. And it's a lot. So the biggest thing I would mention is that there's a lot of things that you could very obviously tell that like these are lizards or frogs or whatever, and you still get the sense that this is potentially an actual animal. Not just because it's realistic, but because the body parts still work together as one solid piece, so to speak. Going in and deciding what is actually a leaf and what isn't. Like, for example, this is not a leaf. This is like lizardy skin, which was a really good choice. Whereas this is more like a leaf, comparatively. So just trying to decide what part is actually part of the animal, what isn't. Yeah, I believe he's a horned toad. Or a bearded dragon. And then also trying to make sure that you pick the right animal for the job. In some cases it would be a lot harder, i.e. like Gengar. But if you sort of realize that this is supposed to be Gengar's eyes, makes a lot more sense, and you kind of realize like, oh, like that's what they're doing with it, sort of thing. And making sure that the design is cohesive like all the way through, for the most part. So, that being said, let's go ahead and look at pieces that people did. We don't have that many today, so I'm not too worried about it. Does anyone want to go first? And was there any confusion this time around on what the prompt was? I mean, he can be a horny toad. He can be whatever animal you want him to be. You know? So it's really just about trying to pick an animal that works, and there are certain animals that will and certain that won't. But there's no one true animal. Cat, I swear to God. So, what if their name has an animal in it, like Charmander? I mean, you would probably do a lizard of some kind, right? But you don't have to do a lizard, though. You could also make it like a bird, or a dinosaur. That's what I'm saying. Like, you could make Charmander a salamander all you want, but also you could make it a lot of other things. Oh, cat. So we once a month or once every other month, like, basically go through Doodle Fort submissions, and I give critiques and stuff on them. So, speaking of, hi Bitter. I was not talking about your piece when you were asking for help in the Doodle Fort. You made a Breloom. So, my first question is, what made you want to make him a lizard? Legitimately. Not that that's a wrong answer, but what made you want him to be that? I want to stay on 2 legs like it does in the normal design. Okay, that's fair. So my question is, also I found this while looking it up and I thought this was really cute. I was actually going to use this as an example, and also this. My question is did you ever think about how it has those really fucky little feet? This music's bopping. What if you did kangaroo for the body? Like, this is basically what I'm getting at, that you could still have like that bipedal stance, but it doesn't have to be a lizard, and you could always just take the anatomy of the kangaroo, right, and turn it into a Breloom, so to speak. Like, it doesn't have to have the fur. You're all... I'm basically trying to get you guys to expand your grasp of like what animals you can use on certain things. Like, yeah, like your obvious go-to is like a lizard or a raptor, but what I'm trying to get at is that there's other options, right? It's a very safe route, so to speak. Whereas like with the kangaroo, you still have that bipedal nature. You have those weird freaking feet that match up, which, by the way, that's a kangaroo foot. That match up with like how Breloom's weird feet are, sort of thing. And then there's also, what's the other one? Is it a cassowary that has 2 feet, 2 things? No, it's not a cassowary. What is the other one? No, a cassowary and a echidna are not the same.
No, but just what you call it.
It's a really big bird. It has like 2 toes, though. That's what's weird
ostrich?
about. No, ostrich has 3. No, emu has 3. Boa? No, they have 3. Either way, what I'm getting at is like you could take more than one part from one animal, because for the most part, head is raptor. Wait, hold on. So your head is fucking tablet pin. Now is not the time. Okay, so your head is raptor, your legs are raptor, your arm, your tail, it's like 90% raptor, right? But what if, to keep that sort of feeling of a Breloom's feet, for example, how they have like the very big back legs, and thick thighs is the best way to put it, and they're basically really bottom heavy, whereas like a raptor is very balanced. Like they're meant to be balanced. They're meant to be like racers and predators, you know? So the idea is that they're supposed to be moving very fast, whereas I don't know if I would say Breloom wants to move real fast, so to speak. At least I don't imagine Breloom to be a fast Pokemon. Maybe that's just me. Oh, yeah, I guess it is an ostrich then. You're right. An ostrich would be your best bet for that weird two-toe thing. Yeah, it does, but that's because it has hands. And it's not because it's fast. When I think fast, I think of... Well, thank you. When I think fast, I don't think of Breloom, so to speak. So, if we were to say maybe give it more of like this thick bottom, right? And I'm not saying my way is right, you know? I want to make that really, really clear that there's no right and wrong when it comes to designing. There are better versions and worse versions, but there's no right and wrong. Because you can also take a version and make it more interesting with just like a few little touches, so to speak. I mean, okay, I mean, I get that it's fast, but I'm saying like its design-wise doesn't look like it would be fast. When you think of a fast Pokemon, you would think of like something that's more aerodynamic, or something that's like sleeker, or something that's probably electric. You don't exactly think of like a grass type sort of thing. So we don't super need this guy to be very fast, and that's okay. So if we were to go with like kangaroo feet, right? Which kangaroo feet are real freaking weird, let me just mention. I'm gonna have to take a fucking second to pull up a reference for this because god damn. So it would be like this, and then this would be the longest part. The cats are just in a fucking mood today, I swear to God. So does that does that make sense with me trying to say you don't need to look at this and be like everything needs to be a reptile, so to speak? Like, there's a lot of different things that you need to be able to pull from, and it helps to have a vast sort of diagram, basically, of different things. Like, you don't have to have your references be all animals, for example. I know you were looking at flowers and stuff for this, which I think was fine for the hat, maybe, but I'm not sure about the neck thing. so to speak, but like the idea of incorporating something like a flower or a stone structure or like architecture into your animals is perfectly fine. I'm trying to find some reference sheet. No, I don't want fucking Monster Hunter World. Monster character design. Let's see. That's just a golem. That's... I'm trying to find something that... I probably should have looked these up earlier, but it's fine. It's fine. So, okay. You can kind of tell with some of these that they still have like weapons and stuff incorporated into them. There's very much so like a bow or a harp and a shield and a sword. And it's just taking everything you have and making sure that design works at the bottom of the at the end of the day. The design needs to work, basically. Well, that's the second thing I want to talk about is the neck frills. So there's multiple kinds of neck frills on animals. And as I was showing with the LJ Palmer stuff, is that like parts of the lizard don't need to be fur or like feathers, basically, but they can also be like thin, like strips of skin. Like that is a thing that happens in the animal world, right? That is a thing that exists. Oh, god damn it, you stupid clip program. Dingus dangus. Dong diddly. Fuck. And it's really about deciding, do you want it to be a neck frill? Do you want it to be more of like a flower type where it's trying to blend into its environment, sort of like how a praying mantis might look like a flower? Or do you want it to be more of something that is aggressive and is trying to fend off predators or something like that? Like, the main thing I want to bring up is, what is it used for? And in Pokemon, you're not really gonna get that sort of idea, so in this case we're having to think of it ourselves, so to speak. And Pokemon. Yeah, it could very easily be a mating thing. Let's see. I'm trying to find a good example. So like, in this case, for example, he made Yveltal, right? And instead of, like, this doesn't exist on Yveltal at all. Yveltal. It's like wispy, smoky bullshit. It's not supposed to technically really be fur. It's just kind of there, right? But turning it into like actual feathers is a whole other step, right? It's trying to figure out what part could be what. So if we were going to make this into a mating thing, what if instead of as much as it climbs up the neck, I would actually go with just having it be sort of Batwing-like, because then you actually have a little bit of structure to the neck, so to speak. So you would have like a bone structure that comes in from here and then is able to lift it up, which would also mean that when it folds, it's going to fold like this, because it's going to be stretching this way instead of it being more so this, because it's not stretching out this way, it's more so stretching left to right. So giving it like the sort of floaty fabric is fine, but you need to think about like how that moves and connects with the lizard itself. So what if we were to just... Give me a second. Sort of keep that idea of like a batwing, right? Because I guess a batwing would be our best example. Yeah, it's kind of like an umbrella. God damn it, don't show me like an animal. Why is Google so bad with this?
Hi, Google here.
It's the same idea as a batwing, right? You have all the pieces that stretch out everything and have their points of connection to like the bone itself, which is what makes the wing move out itself, right? Like if that bone structure was not there, the batwing wouldn't move at all, you know? It's just skin. It's not gonna do anything. Also, with an unstretched batwing, there's wrinkles fucking everywhere because they're leathery and weird, right? So feel free to just like throw some fucking texture on this motherfucker and be like, he actually has a little bit of wrinklage to himself, sort of thing. And it's not perfect, right, by any means, and you could come back and get this round shape that he has, because again, when it's expanded, it's going to look more like this comparatively to when it's sagging and all of the skin and everything sags that way. Because again, you're stretching left to right, not up and down. Because if you're stretching up and down, everything's going to get pulled this way, which is what you were doing with the original petals sort of design. So does that make more sense compared to this one, at least? Yeah, it could still like wiggle and shake like a dog. It absolutely could, because unless these are like actively standing up, like there's no reason why they wouldn't be limp and be able to shake around like a dog. That's just how loose skin acts, you know? Yep. It also depends on how thin you want to make everything. Like, is this going to be super paper thin? In which case, you would tend to see, like, light coming in from behind. Sort of thing. And if not, and we want to make it thicker, then you have to have the material show, god damn it, VPN. The material show that it's thicker than that, right? With a batwing, it's extremely flexible and elasticy because it's extremely thin, right? But if we're not trying to freaking fly, then there's no problem with saying that this has like a hard edge. Like, there's nothing wrong with it having a hard edge in that regard. And then it's just trying to figure out your material thickness from there. So, my other question, partially, is why he wound up getting sort of like a red lip and a dark green head, so to speak. God. Or more like a beak. Okay. So, a beak. Realistic. Right. So with the beak, it doesn't just tend to end on their lip. Beaks tend to go and even connect up with the eye for the most part. So let's say that we're gonna go with parrot. Okay, my new setup is really frustrating actually. That seems to be about the right sort of concept. Okay, so let's look at a macaw, for example. God, don't just save the image, motherfucker. So, all of the skin and everything tends to wrap around the beak because it is part of the skull, right? Whereas, at least for this angle, it sort of feels more like he has lipstick on, if I'm honest. So, if you wanted to give him a beak, what if you were to just do this sort of shape? And give it actually like more of a beak shape. Which, okay, cool, thanks, clip. Which you would also need to bring in the folds of it coming down over the beak itself. Because again, it's skin wrapping around a piece of the skull, literally. That's what it is. And then it would be like, and this would have to be a different texture than the rest of skin, because remember, this is a bone. This isn't just another part of the skin coming up. If you're going to give it a beak, it needs to be able to eat with that beak still. Even platypus have two parts to their beak. Okay, well, I mean, that was kind of the entire point of Doodle, which was to look up references and to do animal studies to make a more realistic looking animal. Does anything really need to eat? So now we have at least like more of a realistic sort of beak shape, kind of. Very basic, honestly, at this point, and I'm not super worried about it. But does that make more sense for like a mouth shape than the original one as to why I did that? Well, yeah, no, that's fair. I'm just sort of mentioning, like, I wanted you guys to look up references for all of it, so to speak, because the idea was that it's, if your job is character creation and you only look up references for like 3 things and not all the others, then you're probably gonna get fired for your job, you know? There's a reason why in some, like, hold on, I can look up reference boards. Artist reference board. Shit, we're binging with Babbage now. Mood boards are also tend to be a really common thing. So, in most cases, artists look up reference board for millions upon millions upon millions of things, you know, just to get every single little thing correct. Yeah, you can look up dinosaur references all you want, like, that's fine. But it's trying to make sure that you guys understand that with character creation, it's not just looking up one kind of animal and turning it into that kind of animal. It's looking up multiple kinds of animals, because even though Pikachu is a mouse, it doesn't fucking look like a mouse. You know? it's gonna have different parts to it. It's gonna have more of like a bunny style body and maybe a mouse like sort of face, or a hamster sort of face, and long freaking bunny ears. Like, that's just trying to make something that is automatically non-realistic. Realistic is of course always just sort of words are hard. Or a chinchilla. Yeah, it could be a chinchilla, but then what do you do with the tail? Or, but that's still not a rodent and is classified as a rodent. So it's trying to figure out like one part of what, of one part of another. It's fine. Yeah, he looks like a fucking pear with legs. Like, this is not an animal. This is not a real animal. And you shouldn't consider it to be one or treat it like one, right? I guess both my tablet pins need to be charged then. That sucks. Fine. Mr. Potato Head, but with animal parts. You're right. That's all it is. He's big and dumb, and you can't just turn like a lizard into this, because this isn't fully a lizard. This is also a plant. This is also broccoli and a mushroom with olives and like a weird pear body and like ostrich legs sort of thing. Oh yeah, no, you could absolutely use fruit. You could go in and be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go in and use a pear and use the pear sort of texture as its reptile skin. Legitimately. Because this is what pear is. You can do that. That's what I'm getting at. You don't even have to use all animals. Yeah, it's not real, so we enslave it. Great. Awesome. Also, I realized that today is probably going to take my numbers, but it's fine. I love Doodle Fort too much for that. Bumpy avocado is also an option. You know? And do you guys know what photo bashing is? Now I hate Brailleum. It's okay, a lot of us do. No. Okay. Photo bashing is legitimately taking different photos and images and basically painting over them and putting them together and making something new. It's a really, really quick and dirty concept art idea. The actual definition is a technique where artists merge and blend photographs or 3D assets while painting and compositing them into a finished piece. Okay. This is a photo bash, and you can tell that this is a legitimate photo, whereas this is not. But it doesn't matter because everything is still here and you're still getting the texture for that skin. Yeah, it's really dirty art. It's a really easy way to make concept art. And it was actually a job that I wanted for a long time. Let's see, what else do we have for photo bashing? No. I know this one is a really common photo bash that people talk about because like these legs, I believe, are from an insect, and then he just kind of threw a whole bunch of stuff together. I can get that video for you if you're like more interested in what photo bashing is, but for the most part, that's kind of what it is. The hardest part is usually that people have to render things out, and it's one of those things that people think like, oh, I could just throw together, you know, some pictures and it works, and that's not really how it works, right? Here. We could look at this real quick, because this is the one I always think of. Like, this is what he drew, and then he, like, started throwing a whole bunch of other stuff in there, adding texture, adding colors, you know, and blending them all together, and very much so, like, taking parts from other pieces and literally just control pasting them into this, right?
Let's, you know, I'm gonna add this. So,
like, that's a photo that he pulled apart, and it's photo bashing's awesome. I love photo bashing, and I wish sometimes that I like actually sat down and like taught myself it. Anyway, I don't know if there's anything else I really want to bring up other than maybe the fact that, like, I'm proud that she tried to paint. But in that same regard, this doesn't look sort of painted in that same sense. And I sort of feel like if you were to just go in and sort of just give this a little bit more depth, right? Like, it would just feel a little bit better, so to speak. Because this is very, very line dependent compared to, like, the rest of your piece, which is fine. If you're gonna try to make a style out of that, that's fine, but that's just something to keep in mind, right? Oh no! That's a thing, Stitch. Yeah, I have aphantasia. The best way to explain it is when someone says, like, when you think of an apple, do you picture an actual apple in your head? Because I don't. There's nothing there for me. It's just, when I, like, close my eyes and try to think of an apple, like, I know, like, what an apple is, and I kind of have maybe, like, the general sort of shape in, like, a very fuzzy, not even realistic sort of way. It's almost like I'm looking at that for an apple. It doesn't even have that. It's just kind of that. And I'm like, yeah, that's an apple. Yeah, that's an apple, right? Yep. It was a really big thing that came up last year that people were like, wait, this is a thing? And I'm just like, yeah, some people can't visualize in their brain. How do you do art out of the ether? I don't know. I don't know how I would explain it. So, no, you're fine, Galby. I'm not gonna criticize you for being like, don't you dare bring this thing up that was brought up last year, even though it's connected to art. So my only thing, betrayal, is that it's a little weird that it's a single mushroom cap that he just kind of like wears as a hat. And my version of that, I guess, for me would be like, they basically grow fungus on them instead of just like the one. So what if he was just like covered in like a fuck ton of fungus, right? But it still makes that like sort of basic shape when you put them all together, but it's not like a part of them, so to speak. Or alternatively, you could make it not a fungus at all. Okay? You could make it basically like a shield. It could be a shell too. Yeah, you could easily make him be like extremely tiny and he wears a little acorn hat and he's happy. That could be an option. Another option would be that he has this sort of horn shape above his head that when you look down on it just looks like a giant circle above his head, sort of thing. If that sort of like makes sense, but it like grows from this part of his skull, sort of like a triceratops frill, I guess you could call it a frill. Yeah, it could also just be a rice paddy hat. Who fucking knows? Maybe they steal hats. I don't know. It hasn't yet. That is another thing. Very large animals. I'll just bring it up now, in fact. Very large animals radiate a lot of heat. Did you know that? And animals that also have to survive in hot environments have very large body parts to basically act as cooling agents. The best example I can think of right off the bat is the finnick fox, which has real big old ears, right? And basically their blood flows up into their ears, and since heat is dispersed while they're doing that, when it comes back down, it's cooled off, thus regulating their body temperature. I don't know if Breloom would be in that sort of situation where it needs that, but that is an option. You can sit there and be like, well, this thing is huge and it needs some way to vent heat. And I actually think, hold on, let me see if I can't pull it back up. What was it? Oh fuck, I can't think of it now. Oh no. The RJ Palmer picture we saw. That I was like, it doesn't have to be feathers. Oh god. What? Oh god. It was... Oh no. The giant lizard thing. I can't think of it. This thing. For fuck's sake. This thing. These were actually drawn as, like... No, not smoky bullshit. These are actually drawn, if you notice, as literal parts of their skin. Do you know how much fucking blood that would give off heat? Or how much heat that would give off? He could very easily, especially with how tall he is, you know, use that to disperse a lot of heat. It's literally a heat sink. Alright. So, Bitter, do you have any questions? Yeah, you very much so could kill it just by cutting off its tail. Yeah, Skeptile. I made a big dingus dangus. Mm-hmm. I think you did. I think there's a lot of things that you weren't fully sure of, including this part, but I think you got the general gist of it down. I would say in the future, just look up more references, and this is for all of you. Absolutely all of you. Do not work on a dark background. Work on like 50-50 gray. Work on like that. God damn it. Fucking... I love when my tablet just wants to die all day. It's great. Work on like that color, or even maybe like a little bit lighter, because for the most part at least, it's going to make all your colors sort of be darker than you probably intend them to, because this is probably like an average light situation, whereas the other color you had was sort of maybe more at night, almost. And for at least for designing, you need to be focused on the character itself, and you can kind of tell now just how dark a lot of the creature is itself. I'm repeating a lot of words today. I am so sorry. So if we were to just do... I don't want it to be like neon, right? But do you see the difference between that and how muddy those colors are comparatively? Whereas this is what I think you wanted, or it feels like you wanted, and this is what you wound up with. And that goes for everybody, not just Bitter. All of you, I'd like you to start working on like 180 to like 150 gray as your background color. Because that's a general light environment. When you're thinking about something in a general light environment, you're just kind of looking at it like across the room or whatever. It's the most basic average lighting situation you can come up with. Yeah, there's that too. Gaming settings make things a little bit weird. I tend to have, since my tablet's on this monitor, I tend to have different settings for this monitor versus my main monitor, and my tablet and my drawing program are not on my monitor that has gaming settings. If you only have one monitor and you don't have a screen tablet, which that's fine, a lot of people don't, sorry, Dither is asking me about things. Okay. So I would say just try to get a program that allows you to have multiple color profiles. Honestly, the one I tend to use is DisplayCal. And God damn it, Dither. I swear to God, I'm gonna make everybody go beat up Dither if I have to. Anyway, chat says hi, Dither. So, does it make sense why I'm asking you guys to use like that kind of gray, being like 150 gray to like 180-ish? Anything higher, you're getting into like glow sun territory. Anything darker, it's like it's less of an average light environment. And then if you're actually wanting to be in an environment that's like maybe a little bit darker, like I want to draw this so that maybe it's like at dusk or night, or like this is a night-bearing creature, you're gonna go down here and probably go about that and then work from that. And that's like about 100. So, and that's on the RGB scale, 100, 100, 100. Okay. So, real quick, there were 2 of these, actually, so I'm gonna open them both. And then, I'm gonna go over here, and I'm gonna look up axolotl. Realistic one kit. So, my biggest thing with this is, first and foremost, it didn't have to be an axolotl. It's obviously an axolotl. The most common one that I see is also a fish. I think the fish version is pretty cute. Salamanders are also pretty common. But the biggest thing with axolotls is they don't have a flat face, unlike Mudkip. Axolotls actually tend to have very round, pointy faces. Mudkip, yeah. God damn it. Fucking, come on. Work with me, Clip, please. Alright, so, not save, not save. So, it kind of worked better in one more than the other. Nope, not 180, god damn it. So it kind of was worked a little bit better in one versus the other. You had the general idea of what you wanted here, but this still kind of just feels like a mudkip in the most part. And that's simply just because maybe it's the fact that it's not completely finished feeling. You're fine, Lime. It's not completely finished feeling, but for this one at least, it sort of feels like you drew a mudkip, right? And then you added these things and you added toes. Because, reminder, this is a mudkip. And it's honestly not too different from this. It kind of feels pretty samey, so to speak. And then I need to take my pills. Chat, take your pills. And then the second one leans a little bit more towards the axolotl. It has like the longer tail, right? It has like a fully fishy, sort of swimmable tail. I still need more water. God damn it. 1 second. Okay, so you have sorry, okay. So you have the general gist of like what an axolotl's body sort of looks like, but it feels like you didn't really push it much farther than that in the sense of like integrating axolotl parts into the mudkip itself, right? These sort of feel like they're just sort of like sticking onto him, kind of more like feathers, whereas an axolotl, they tend to be connected to part of his cheeks. So in that case, we're gonna work with this one, but I'm gonna say right now that the things I'm gonna say for this one will also apply to this one. So there's nothing different that I'm gonna say between these two. So, what's to stop you from going, okay, well, these need to full connect to the head, so to speak. And then that would count as what basically amounts to his weird bumps on his face, right? The funnest thing about Pokemon is that they love having opposing colors. So whenever I try to blend things out with these, they're just like, hey, you wanted like colors that look like shit together when you blend them out? Here you go. It's like, great. It's exactly what I fucking wanted. Cool. Okay. All right, so now we have more of this shape of like the axolotl sort of face, okay? And in this case, I'm pretty much going to stick to it being an axolotl because, I mean, they do kind of look like mud, yeah. I'm gonna stick to it just being an axolotl because you both went for that, and there are situations that it works perfectly fine to have it be one type of animal, but you need to lean really hard into that animal for it to make sense. So yeah, I like the darker orange. So the other thing being, I'm gonna do this real quick, just hide that for myself, is that axolotls have a longer face than mudkip does. And that's okay. We just need to show that if we're going to be leaning real hard into the fact that it's an axolotl, right? So now we have more of this face than the sort of squished up, sort of happy face that like Mudkip has. We have more of this, which is more of that sort of, it's very Dodogama. Yes. I mean, they kind of do look very Dodogama to go with in the first place. I also pulled their eyes a little bit further apart because even most predators don't have eyes this close together. So we went ahead, we'll just do this, and now we're just making an axolotl, right? But it also needs to be a Mudkip. So how do we keep it a Mudkip? You take parts of it, and you continue to adapt those parts of it to the animal itself. So it can still have this fin. The fin's not the issue, right? In fact, if we wanted, the fin could go down almost its entire freaking back and just continue on because, you know, that's fun. It's just an option. It's just something to think about, right? And we go back to the whole heatsink thing, right? And then this could easily just develop into this sort of color, right? So now we have it becoming more white as it goes down. Max has sent me a text message, and I'm not sure of what. Oh. Okay. So now we have it interacting with the entire body instead of just simply being regulated to up on top of its head. Yeah, it's a good old blue Pringle. That's what it is. And this still has like very tadpole-y vibes, so to speak, which is fine. That's what Mudkip pretty much is. It's a mud dog slash tadpole. And then I think from there, I think that's fine. It's just like the few tiny things that make a pretty big difference in everything. And then again, with the dark gray background, I'd rather it be not that. So, but because he's such a bright blue, it's not too bad. Yeah, Mud Puppy. I think also you could probably just continue this like white color up his body. I don't think that's like too big of an issue, right? And axolotls really don't have that much of a body anyway, so it's fine. Not a hush puppy, no. Okay, so does that make sense for why I made those changes? And again, those changes would have been for both of them. Squishy friend. Don't touch an axolotl though. They literally dissolve with human touch. It's bad. Yeah. If you're gonna, so the idea is that if you're gonna lean really hard into it being one single animal, that's fine. You have to lean hard into it. It was a little bit too much Mudkip for both of them, and it kind of just felt like a Mudkip with like a little bit of frill tacked on. It's a bad habit. Have y'all seen what I fucking work on? I literally work on like a dark purple when I sketch. For fuck's sake. Comparatively to what I should be working on, which is like here-ish. But it's just what works for my eyes, and it's because I'm more used to the light environments that I'm working on. Yeah, I tend to like a lot of reds and purples and stuff when I'm working. Okay, so any questions? In chat, what have we learned so far? This is just me messing around at this point. And giving him like a little bit more of like a scaly texture. Hey, Ookie. Use more references. Yes, absolutely yes. If you take anything away from today's Doodle Fort, B, use more references. I will say, by the way, I know I'm adding scales because I'm trying to go the tadpole route, frog tadpole route. But it's not scales, it's more just texture, I guess, skin texture. Axolotls don't have texture. But that's okay, because I'm trying to give it a little bit more than just axolotl. It's also a frog tadpole. So, he's fine. No, it's fair. It's hard to balance both. Texture and colors, so. Use all the references. Use references that aren't just animals. Use things that are fruit, things that have different textures, things that have fabric, things that have architecture, things that have swords and shields and guns and weird things and bugs and birds and plants. Use all the things. And also neutral light environments, yeah. Also, Donald is actually dead on as well. So, blend assets from both subjects, considering the practical use for the organs and flourishes in a natural sense for the animal. Make sure the actual animal, if you pick this animal up and threw it out into the real world, would it survive? Would it? Would there be a reason for half the stuff you gave it? And there are plenty of times when you design something that you could just be like, I just wanted to fucking do this, which is fine. But you have to build yourself up to that point. Use all the things you get Digimon. It's true. Okay. Any questions before I move on? Monhunt is a really, really good example of blending animals, objects, monsters, myths all together. Boxer T-Rex, yeah. Like, where did so many Digimon just human people? Horny. Anyway, moving on. Can I just say this guy's really cute? Anyway, moving on. Did someone say horny? I'm here. Hello. Okay. Who wants to go next? We have Donald, Mimic, and Polarish. And if no one says it, I'm just gonna go down the list from the first one in my files. Okay. So, you did draw a lot. I'm gonna take out what I'm not focusing on. Also, that's a really cute duck. Also, thank you for using a somewhat decent gray color. Helps a lot. No, you're fine. I am a-okay with you throwing in all your other sketch pages in here while you were sitting there trying to figure out what to draw. So, again, with what we learned about Mudkip, we need to lean really, really hard into Rabbit, right? Or Axolotl, because we only have one Pokemon to go from, right? Raboot is just a rabbit, there's nothing else. Or, not Raboot, Bunny. Fuck, what's the... Why can I not think? Scorbunny. Thank you. Because that's all that Scorbunny is, right? He's just a rabbit, right? That's all he is? Hair, in this case, that's true. He's just a rabbit, right? That's all he is? There's nothing else there, right? The answer is no, not right, by the way. There's very obvious sort of soccer references, basically. He's wearing tennis shoes, for fuck's sake, and he has a bandage on his nose. So the question is how do you develop this as a rabbit from Scorbunny? And some of the bigger ones being that, for whatever reason, Scorbunny's ears are connected, and I never knew why, but they are. So if we want to keep it being Scorbunny instead of just like this weird orange rabbit, we should keep that in mind. So, go ahead and do this. And then that. And it's not perfectly to animal anatomy, but that's okay. They still would work and function, right? It's just kind of sports sort of thing. Like, it's a trope in Japan for like the rambunctious little kid to have like a bandage on his nose. It's an active youngster, basically, yeah. So if that's the case, then we need to figure out a way to interpret a bandage being on his nose, right? And you did do rabbit studies. I will praise you on that. You did do rabbit studies. Good fucking job. I really like the drawing of the rabbit just kicking some fire. It's really good. So if you didn't know, rabbits don't really have that big of a nose, actually. The nose that they actually have is down here. This is their nose. This is just the top of their nose. Like how a dog has his muzzle. This is their actual nose. So keeping that in mind, this being his whole nose is a lot. Okay. So what if, let's say, for example, we kept teeny tiny nose, right? And then just made his entire upper nose this color, because rabbits do have markings like that. I've owned some. California rabbit. They're really cute, actually. I actually raised rabbits like these, and they're really cute. They have little noses. They're so cute. Fuck. I fucking love rabbits. So, yeah, they go neep, neep. The other thing being, though, is that I sort of wonder if this rabbit face got kind of squished together because of Scorbunny's rabbit face, or Scorbunny's face shape, so to speak. And I'm wondering if it would be worth it to just pull this out slightly. Not a lot, just a little. So now we're hiding that other eye, and it looks a bit more like a rabbit, so to speak. It did, yeah. Okay, I just wanted to know. So the other question is, how do we make him look more like Score Bunny, right? And one of the big things I want to mention is that this is, from here down, this is 100% just a rabbit, right? If you cover up the entire face, it's just a goddamn rabbit, right? That's just a rabbit. There's nothing really Score Bunny about it. So what if we go in and say they have like bigger feet, right? Rabbits have really big feet. Well, they have narrow feet, technically. You know who does have big feet? Bobcats. Not bobcats. Snow lynxes? Lynxes, I want to say. They have big fucking dumb feet that are really stupidly big for some reason. And it's so that they can walk in snow, but that's okay because that's just something that we can use, right? That's the idea. So, what if we were to say go in and just be like, well, why don't we just give them big, stupid feet? That's perfectly fine. Because if we're going from anatomy that works in the real world, what does it matter? It may seem like impossible, sort of, from an outside perspective, but if you're using references that work in a real world scenario, it does not matter. It's true. White also does absolutely work for a snowy environment, and if they were a fire type Pokemon, you could sit there and say that they keep themselves warm, and that's okay. Now he's looking kind of ridiculous, but that's gonna happen. You can't take a design that was meant to be super cute and just make it not. That's not exactly how it works, so to speak. It takes many, many hours generally to redesign things comparatively from the original design versus what you do currently have. I would say I'm a little worried about the anatomy of the rabbit itself in this sitting position, because I believe I just made the legs thicker, but I'm sort of wondering if they're a little bit like too long comparatively. And if I did that, then my apologies. We can get back to that. Yeah, they're ridiculous. Sphinx feet are or lynx feet are so freaking ridiculous. One other thing I would say is that bunnies don't actually have like these kind of poofy cotton ball tails. They tend to have more like this kind of thing going on. It just never seems to look like it because they're always extremely fluffy. But it is a tail that is connected through their spine. Hares have longer front legs. You're right, I'm thinking of a rabbit, aren't I? Yes, I am thinking of a rabbit. Absolutely. That's my bad, and I admit to that. I think the biggest thing is when a rabbit is sitting down, it tends to cover up this joint. From what it seems like, looking at photos, which again, look up your references. Those are important, right? In most cases with the hair, it kind of looks like that joint kind of blends in with everything, which is why I'm thinking that the legs are longer than they're supposed to be, which makes sense. So if we were to just sort of hide them a little bit, basically, then that seems a little bit better. Although hairs are weird to start with. Yeah, they're kind of weird. Animal anatomy is weird, and It's okay. It's okay to be weird and like not do it right the first time. The rabbits, bunnies, and hares all different. So a hare and a rabbit are different. A bunny is just a rabbit. But a bunny tends to also be the term used for like a pet rabbit, like a lop-eared bunny. Or at least I believe that's what it is. The only other thing is I would say that I don't know if this kind of fur works for like a hare, because that kind of fur winds up being like very curly and coarse, and if you've ever tried to get something out of hair that's like that, it mats and it's terrible. There's a good reason why most animals don't have that sort of coarse sort of hairstyle. So the only thing I would say is, why don't you just have the fur follow its fur pattern around the back of its neck? Get some real fucking furry energy up in here. And just have it like follow the fur pattern back this way. And it just so happens that that part is red. Like, oh no, there you go. Yes, curly hair. So does that make more sense into why it was a little bit too much rabbit versus the other one, which was a little bit too much mudkip? I'm just saying words at this point, and in any normal class, people would just be like, what the fuck are they saying? Yeah, rabbit fur is super lovely. Word good. I word good. Any questions? And any questions from you, Mimic, at all? This would be something that I would actually have to, because I don't like the end result, right? I'm not always gonna like the end result. This is one of those things that I would want to look into and be like, okay, well, if I change this here to make the legs fit more, or at least like try to make it more visually correct instead of it being this like long lanky thing. That's fair. It's kind of hard with some Pokemon. Like I said, these are literally, this is just a rat. This is just a fucking rabbit. It's just a rabbit. Whereas there's Pokemon like Mudkip that's a little bit more that you can take from, sort of thing. Or like Sobble has Chameleon and, in my opinion, Salamander or Axolotl in him, or Fish. The Scorbunny is just a rabbit. It was a harder one. But it's okay. You gave it your damnedest and you actually did studies, which I love to see. I personally think this one is my favorite. Or maybe this one, I'm not sure. And I applaud you for the fact that I got to see your studies. Not everybody gets to decides to show me their studies. And it just makes me happy to see people actually doing studies. See, I think the hair was maybe a good idea because it's supposed to be an athlete, but I can understand that that's a little bit difficult. Another option might have been like a kangaroo rat, but that seems like a little bit too much, like you're pushing it a little bit too far. But it's just something that you have to sit there and think about. It's not something you can come up with in a day, generally. It's something that you should try to do a design and then come back to it later and try to do it again and come back to it later and so on and so forth. Okay, so it's an Absol. I know that. Is it a cat? Is it a dog? I'm not sure. It feels weird to ask that, but like I want to make sure I'm getting this right if Polarish is here. It's also a Weavile. I will say that. Or Sneasel. Sneasel. Yeah. Sneasel and a Weavile. No, yeah, it's a Sneasel. Sneasel and a Weavile. Listen, potato. You gotta remember, potato. It's all potato up here. It says your art tutor, trying to teach you things. Okay, I don't think Polarish is here. Okay, so not knowing what animal it is, I want to bring up a couple things that are a little worrisome. So, did you know that lions cannot retract their claws? Don't mash deer's brain. It's true. Their claws are basically able to come out more, but at any given time, they're like this. Okay? So, Jesus. There's a picture of a lion killing a zebra back there. So my question is how would this animal be able to walk around with extremely long claws? And so you go, okay, longest claws in nature, right? Giant armadillo. And apparently also the sloth, all right? But the thing is, with the sloth climbs trees. It's not trying to crawl around the ground, so the sloth isn't something that works. Giant armadillo digs, but that's fine because it also can walk on its hind legs. So the question is why do we give it a four-legged animal if it cannot walk or dig or etc. on those claws, right? That's my first point. My second point being, when inking in traditional, you don't need all of this. You really don't. I promise you, you don't. It's okay. It becomes a bit of a visual mess when you sort of try to ink everything as one consistent fur type. When you're painting animal fur, you're not going to sit there and paint every single fur piece. That's not how it works. So there's no reason to try to do that as well in ink. So let's just get rid of all of this real quick. So give me a second to do that. And I think part of the problem comes from the fact that I believe Weavile's a cat and Sneasel are a cat? Or they're supposed to be a cat. Or something. I believe they're feline in origin. Hey, Ghosty. Thank you for the whole freaking months. Oh, months. I'm pretty sure it's almost a year. Dang. Okay. The second problem being, when I first saw this, I had no definition between the Weavile and the Sneasel. I thought they were the same fucking Pokemon. And that was really hard for me to distinguish for a while. And I actually had to stare at it for a little bit to figure out which one was which. So, the question is okay, well then how do you draw fur for, like, ink and stuff? And the main thing is to not worry about, like, the overall piece, but maybe more so the outline. Because remember, it doesn't have to show every single piece of fur. But now sitting here and just adding, like, these little tufts everywhere, you're like, okay, yeah, like, this motherfucker's furry, right? Like, you're in the idea that, like, yeah, this guy's covered in goddamn fur without having to sit there and draw every single little line comparatively. He still looks fluffy. Yeah, it's a little bit of a magic eye puzzle. One of my favorite things to do when it comes to making sure that something pops out from one another is to just do a semi-thick white outline between the two things that I'm trying to change and intersect, basically. So now you know that this thing is in front and that thing is in back, and you have more. It's just a little bit, but it's enough to basically go, okay, this is where this one ends and this is where this one starts. A cat and a weasel, I guess? I don't really see weasel, but sure. Catzel, yeah. So, I would also sort of mention that this ear hole would kind of be in the wrong position, actually. In most cases, ears need to point out this direction because you're trying to listen all around you and listen for the things behind you when you're a predator. And in this case, this ear hole is just pointing forward and only listening to what's ahead of it. So, what if we just change that a little bit, right? And made it this solid sort of earpiece, which is fine because on this side, it's going to look more like this and be more like a cat ear. Yeah, I think that's why too. But the problem is that weasels still don't have those extremely long claws because they still need to run around on their claws. I think you kind of want to try cross-hatching, but I think you don't know entirely where to start Polarish, and that's okay, but it would be worth looking into in the future if you want to keep going forward with that sort of style of, like, drawing. So, what if instead of these very large claws, okay, we just gave him, like, for example, slothy hands, right? Well, not exactly slothy, because remember, sloths, of course, climb trees. And then that's an issue. So what if, instead, they were semi-long, right? Because remember, animal claws and things retract. You give it a dew claw, because again, it's a cat / weasel. And then when they stand up, these claws could literally get like that much longer when they're like basically pulled out. Again, much like lion and tiger claws. So they don't need to be this long when you're going from one Pokemon to another, or from one Pokemon to a realistic thing. They could just be this, and it would be fine. You just have to build up the anatomy around it so that it makes sense that maybe that these could be retractable claws instead of like just teeny tiny hands. Gotcha. And I think the feathers were a pretty good way to sort of incorporate that it's like a Weevil and a Sneasel sort of thing. My only concern would be maybe just like, it's not in the Pokemon itself, but just like maybe like a few pin feathers, like here and here, sort of thing. That's all. That's just my only like sort of main gripe. So any questions from there? Any questions as to why we made the changes we did or anything like that? Or if anyone has another idea for how they might be able to help change this into something more tangible as well? Now is your time. Oh, that weasel just has knives. Oh, it has sickles. Okay. I thought it just had knives. And I was just like, oh, fuck. Got a knife. Yes, also setting them as a bipedal creature would also make a lot of sense. And then if we were going to get into that, options for that would be monkeys, the basilisk, jerboas, which would actually be not a terrible choice. Jerboa? You'd have to mess with the anatomy some, but that's not terrible. Kangaroo rats, lemurs. Lemur would be a pretty good choice, I think, because you still have the sort of like hand grasping sort of thing as well as a tail. Kangaroos as well. I feel like you could do something with a jerboa though. Like maybe that's just me, but I feel like there's something there. God fucking, I feel like there's something there. Okay, last one. Hey Doodle. First and foremost, good choice. I'll give you that. But I would say that whereas Breloom kind of like breaks the rules of animal anatomy, Patrak kind of has a very obvious animal anatomy that you want to go from. Right? The first one that comes to mind is a beaver, actually. And I know deer, it doesn't have a weird flat tail. That's fine. It doesn't have to have a weird flat tail. I also think of like muskrats and stuff like that. And I say that because they constantly sit on their hind legs. So then the question is what's the problem? And the answer is this leg mostly. And kind of just sort of its anatomy for the most part. Even, what's the thing I'm looking up? Meerkats don't have perfectly straight up and down anatomy when they stand up. There's an obvious bend in his back as well as in his chest when he stands up on his hind legs. So then the question is what do we fix that with? And honestly, just make him fat but in a different direction. That's the best way I can explain it. Sort of try to make his body more this than this. Because he still has a spine, right? You need to adapt to that spine, at least a little bit. He can still be a fat boy. He can still be as fat as you want him to be. But he needs to have his spine still intact. Pocket knife ferret? Oh god. Okay, and then the other thing is kind of just this leg bothers me, and I think it's just because it sort of feels like this is the anatomy that you went with, and I think the easiest way to probably fix that is either to move the leg forward or the foot back, and we'll go with leg because it's a little bit easier. So now we'll have like the very obvious sort of muscle right here. And we have that shape coming out more instead of it being... Sometimes I feel like there's one here and it makes me feel more static. So the line of action that I'm giving it is this. And if you were to want to stretch it even more, you'd want that. Whereas the original line of action was just kind of straight. Your basic line of action for a person is hips, or head, shoulders, hips, and that's your line of action. And so if you're doing this, it means that your body is going to be more leaning towards that pose sort of thing, and it gives you more or less staticky poses. Basically, a line of action is a really good way to just like get a sketch down for the pose that you're wanting. Yeah, of course. That's why I'm here. Okay, so he's still a fluffy boy, right? Any questions so far, by the way? And then we can just move his tail up some, and that's fine. We can also give him a little bit of a butt, because you have these muscles for his legs kind of building up where they are, right? Okay, well, you didn't have to do that, but I'm happy to have it. Thank you, Sharon, for the tier 1 to Sunder. Also, holy shit, I keep forgetting that Sunder follows me. Yes, line of action is generally where the spine is, because your spine from the side view, right? Like, hi. Your line of action from the side view is going to be this, because that's literally what your spine does. And that's, of course, like, if you're doing something. But then, keep in mind, if this is your line of action, your spine isn't doing this. It's kind of doing, like, this, and your body's just adapting to it. It's a give and take with each. I will say I do like what you did with the eyes. I think, actually, what would have worked really well is making them, like, a predator deterrent, basically. So go with like a raccoon mask for one, right? Because that's a more common shape and that's something we have a reference for. And then keep the eye. And then maybe just have like fur, right? That just makes their eyes look a lot bigger than they are. Sort of like a butterfly. Well, because I don't think Patrat's really a raccoon, but that's just something to go from. And then for the most part, like, I think he's fine. I think you probably could have done a little bit more realistic for here. But that's also just, like, personal opinions. Because remember, the goal was to originally make more realistic Pokemon than anything else. So, I do also like that you gave him little rodent hands, because, again, he is a rodent, right? See, I don't think Patrat's a prairie dog. I think his evolution is. And that's just because, like, this one is literally fucking standing. And maybe that's just me. I mean, I will say prairie dogs are pretty fat. They're a pretty good sort of example of what you'd want, as well as a beaver. He's a lot of things. He's a lot of rodents. He's many rodents. I would say his face shape would be different. I would say it'd be more beaver-like, just because it's very round compared to, like, a prairie dog tends to be very long. But I would say that his body shape would be a good addition to, like, all of our stuff. Yeah, you can kind of see, like, his fat is sitting on top of his legs, but it's very obvious that his leg goes back and then forward. Whereas when you were drawing this originally, not having this just kind of made the leg look like it was like here are their hips, and then this is where their foot is, and you didn't really have that joint. At least because it was this really big circular shape. He's meerkat, prairie doggy, a lot of things. He's a lot of things. We'll just put it that way. You could also make him leg fat, like sit on top of his legs, and then that's fine, but you wouldn't have had that like hard edge right there, because again, his leggy fat is on top of leg, And you would need to continue that out, and then this shape wouldn't be there nearly as much. Again, it's all about just pulling up your references and figuring out what you want to use and going from there. So, I think that's everybody for today. I think you all did pretty damn good, honestly. I know drawing Pokemon is hard for me. Hi, Pumpkin. Yeah, a lot of them are designed just around the golden ratio and silver ratio. Like Cleffa, for example. What the fuck is Cleffa? How would you draw Cleffa? That's not a thing that exists. Cleffa's just a cell. What the fuck is Cleffa? Hi, Pumpkin. 5 gifted subs. DJ Wilkinson, Fire Kid the Cat, Cat the Kid, Dead Duck D, Brownie Points, and Arkin. Cleffa's a meteor. Yeah, it's just a whole meteor. That's all it is. I wonder. I'm trying to see what people do for realistic Clefairy, and the answer is not good. The answer is it's not good. Oh, that's cute. I actually think a chinchilla works really well for Clefairy. And Clefable in them. That would probably be the only thing I could probably move towards, because, like, some people drew them as a cat, but, like, it's kind of meh. It's a little bit too thin, in my opinion. Like, Clefable's biggest draw is that they're just large and round, and anyway, aside from all that, I had a good doodle for it. What about you guys? What'd you learn today, chat? What did you learn? Tell me what you learned today. And also think about what you want to draw next month. $150 gray or 120. 120 to 150. Because 120 is like here, or like I'd say maybe like 150 to 200. 150 to 200 probably. Got my numbers wrong. References, yes. References are the most important thing that I hope to God you take away from this. Aside from that thing that I said earlier. I learned my best friend can apparently hallucinate at will, and I had no idea. Yeah. That's true, Dark. For Dear Tobin, you have that one thing where you can't visualize an apple. That's also true. Yeah. Okay, so what do you guys want to draw next month? I got nothing at this point. I had a lot of the wind taken out of me because I'm not moving now until next year, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. But I just gotta keep in mind that, like, I gotta start doing things now that I said I was gonna do after I moved, like the giveaway and Pixelmon and Aphantasia, yeah. And next month's Doodle Fort. So my only thing, Kevlar, is I'm fine with the word rabbits, but like, not everyone celebrates Easter, so I'll just put rabbits. That one would be hard. Gotta give me some stuff, chat, come on. Gotta give me things. I've also secretly interjected one of these myself. So we did do another character design one, which is why I don't know if I would want to do another character design one, such as like D&D races and stuff. Just because we just did that. You're giving me things for the next Doodle Fort. One more. Come on, I need one more. Give me some. Give me some. Come on. Okay, not Metal Gear Solid. I'm fine with horror. I'm surprised you want to do it in April, but... Fuck, I fucked that up. One sec. I did it dumb. I made it so you can't just pick more than one. All right. Now multiple choices. Create poll. All right. Go vote on some shit and tell me what you want to do. The Easter Bunny horror? Well, that's just Animal Crossing. And Hallmark. Okay, I need to... I'm gonna give it like another minute or so. Because you gotta vote on what you want to draw. Because if you don't vote on what you want to draw, then you don't get a say in what we draw. And then I'll be mad. Because you're gonna be like, I didn't want to draw this. And I'm just gonna be like, well, you should have fucking voted. All I'm saying, your vote matters. Also vote in your local elections. But that's a whole other conversation that we're not gonna have on Doodle Fort streams. It's fine. Alright. Let me refresh this real quick. Okay, that's... We're doing horror. We're doing horror. That's fine. I think I could actually include light environments with that. We should do Frodo bashing sometime soon, though. Like, actually figuring out how to render things together and make something interesting as concept art, because it's a really, really helpful tool. This is a democratic monarchy? What am I, Britain? Spain? One of those? Yeah, Frodo bashing. Okay. We'll do horror. Let me write that as a note real quick. Wait. Okay, I was about to say, is Gerard still not going anymore? Because I was really sad. We're gonna go raid Gerard because he's eating hot sauce for charity and it's great. And I might be doing some stickers on his zine for the completionist charity. I'm just saying, you might get some of my stickers that I'm making of him and they're really good so far. That's all I'm saying. So go beat up Gerard. Go give him lots of money for charity, because fuck yeah. Video game history deserves to be kept around and so on and so forth. Y'all go have fun over there. I will see you again on Monday, and we're gonna play fucking Monster Hunter Rise. That's all we're doing, like, all next week is just playing Monster Hunter Rise. That's all we're doing. So, y'all get out of here. I love you guys. I'll see you on Monday. Goodbye. Goodbye. He's in pain. He's in so much pain. Goodbye. Just, dearby, this is fine. Goodbye.